Welcome to another episode of the Instant Celebrity Maker. Today I have the country manager of a very large Indian-based company which handles outsourcing, back office, technology. I mean, everything you don't want to think about is what they cover. And I want to welcome our guest today, Anand Srinivasan.
Thank you, Mitch. Happy to be here.
Now, I hope I was able to summarize this properly when introducing you. Tell us a little bit about the company you represent and work with, and I know your long-standing relationship with the CEO.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm as you described, the country leader for Intelegencia in North
Mm-hmm.
America, right? And we are a global technology and business services organization. We are based in several locations, predominantly India and Philippines, being our biggest centers of operation. Over 1,000 employees strong. We work with over 100 customers, most of them in North America. And we also have sort of a smaller footprint here in America, some in Latin America, and a small footprint in Ireland as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're truly global, hence the term. People say, oh, I'm global. Oh, really? Where are you? Oh, yeah, I'm in Atlanta. Oh, okay. Are you also in Mississippi? No, never heard of it. All right. Well, here you go. So let's go ahead and jump in. How would your friends describe you?
How would my friends describe you? I think the first and foremost is a man of many talents, right? As you can, I don't know if you're able to see, I have a little guitar back there. So part of my, so in addition to my sort of my focus as a technologist, as a business leader, I also believe in sort of having a wholesome lifestyle, right? So I do pay a lot of priority to my family as well as I have a big belief in giving back to society. So part of that, the avenue for that has been through music for me,
Oh,
because I am a part-time musician, and as a performer, I mainly do it for fundraisers and charity causes, and have been able to contribute back to society in that fashion for various causes.
and I'm curious, what genre of music do you play?
Um, a lot, but mostly what I perform tends to be Indian popular music, right? So, majority of people call it Bollywood music. So, yeah, so it tends to be Bollywood music is majority of what I perform.
So, all right, so they have K-pop for Korean pop, so I'll call it I-pop.
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
Bollywood pop. All right. Well, that's interesting. Oh, well, it's good that you give back and tell us about what's your greatest accomplishment. I don't know if we're tugging on the right thread here.
I think in terms of in terms of greatest accomplishment, right? As I would probably say in Intelligentsia, right? I'll like to focus a little bit on professionally what we do. I really like the fact that we are working a lot with small to medium businesses,
Hmm.
and especially bringing innovative products, right? That startups, the next generation of innovators who are here, right? Helping them go to market, right? Helping them partner with a strategic thinker, right? So myself, Perry, right? Others of us here in the intelligentsia leadership, and getting them to go to market, right? Helping them shape the world, and indirectly we're influencing the direction of the world through our partners and our customers. So I would say that's probably one of the most exciting accomplishments for me.
Okay. And personally?
Personally, as I said, giving back to society, right? So the efforts I've contributed to have, over time, probably added to over $1 million of to various causes, right?
Okay.
Whether it be, children's education, whether it's a majority of the causes I work with tend to be affiliated with childhood cancer. Um,
Okay.
so extensively contributing back through this talent that and commercializing it in a different way.
Okay. Great. And let's say that I would say you're middle aged, not older, but middle aged man, a little bit. You've got a family. What do you wish you had known when you started out?
What do I wish I had known when I started out? I I would probably say that, every one of us starts our career, with a certain personality type, and we aren't necessarily uh, uh, educated in our formal education on some of these non-technical matters, right? How do you interact with people? How do you relate to people? How do you work with people of different backgrounds and diversities, right? These are pieces that sort of you learn along the way professionally. And I really wish that some of those pieces were part of the educational ecosystem starting out, right? So when you come out, you're ready to work with a global, diverse workforce with different personality traits, different orientations, different cultures, different backgrounds, all of that.
Okay. And what are you curious about right now?
Curious about right now. I think with regards to, I'm really excited about where some of the technologies are taking us. In particular, I think the whole blockchain technology is one that I am curious about, and I actually, quite frankly, need to learn a lot more about how this technology is going to transform how we do business, right? How we do sort of improved real-time transactions in business. So these are certain aspects that I'm really curious about.
Okay. And what's something you have failed at?
I think in terms of failure, right? I don't have an immediate example, but I would say that the, you know, some of my projects have failed for not picking up on those personal dynamics. I'll give you an example, right? I've had a team member that I was managing, um, who was a great team member, solid technologist, solid project manager. Um, Unfortunately, the customer he was working with was a very detail oriented bean counter type of individual, right? So when you think about a life, as we go, and with direct access to my CIO at the time, right? So which with the direct access to my boss's boss, right? So I had to. It was a very delicate situation, and the project was sort of headed towards disaster, and it was related to not having a good understanding of what the other customer was expecting and sort of catering our management style to that customer's expectation. So that's sort of an example of a very big, large project that could have failed, but due to timely intervention, I was able to kind of identify this and work with that customer and coach my employee up so that he could adapt his style and help rescue that project from failure.
Okay. Yeah, you've heard the expression probably failure way to success. Because if you
Right.
don't learn from a failure, then it is a failure, but if you learn from it and it's a learning experience, then it's valuable.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
all right, now my favorite question I ask everybody in my interviews is
Uh-huh.
if you could have a coffee or a tea with any historical figure, who would you choose? Now, here's the caveat: they
Uh-huh.
must be passed on.
Okay. Um, wow. That's a loaded one, right? Because I would have so many inspiring leaders. I'd probably say Nelson Mandela, right?
Okay.
Right among the historical figures who have passed on, of recent past, right? I mean, of course, he fought for civil rights, anti-apartheid, and he was a person who evolved his sense of beliefs and learning as he went through his journey. But then most of all, when he eventually won as the leader of his country, um, he took a very bring unite the people approach towards resolving the wounds of his country, right? As opposed to, a lot of times we've seen leaders take on much more punitive style of leadership versus he took on a much more, hey, let's unite as a country because we all need to get over this. And I think trying to understand how he approached that, understand his mindset, how he was able to forgive his oppressor, would be sort of qualities I would love to kind of learn from.
Okay. And who's been your most important professional mentor?
Professional mentor, right? I can think very early on. I've had, probably in my first project, I had a mentor named Eric Kohlenberg, right? Very early on. So this was very early on. But in terms of, he was a family man at the time, young kid on the way, grounded in sort of his spiritual belief, but also just intellectually curious, right? Just super smart person. And this is very early on. So a lot of your times in your life, your early mentors tend to have an impact on the way you approach things, right? And I remember sort of how some of the early conversations we had have shaped sort of my curiosity, my grounding around family and sort of spiritual beliefs, etc. So I think that was a influential person in my life.
Okay. And if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
If I could, I would have, I would have probably said, pursue your passion, education wise, right? At the time, my undergrad major was in electronics engineering, but my passion was really for computer science, right? So I would have probably gone back to my 18-year-old self, and given the advice to follow your passion, take more risks, right? Because I think I took a much more straightforward path than I could for a majority part of my youth, and I would advise myself to be a little bit more risk, embrace a lot more risk early on.
Okay. And I presume you have goals. Now, I'd like to isolate this next question because the world has changed so much over the last 2 years, which, I mean, I don't even have to mention the C word there. It's changed so many things globally. If you're to
Uh-huh.
go out just 2 years, because a lot of people say,
Mhm.
what are your 5 year goals? But let's just say 2 years. What are your both personal and business goals?
I think with regards to achieving business goals, right? Part of that is going to be through, of course, building new business relationships, building um, new partnerships in our community. Additionally, right, in terms of acquisition, are potentially part of our goal, right? Working with growing our business through those kinds of transactions, and more than anything else, steadfast focus on executing, right? Getting not just growing the business through sales, right? It's really growing the business through trust. A lot of what we have done is through word of mouth, right? And continuing to drive on that excellence is something I'd like to do. With regards to personal goals, I have a lot of it tends to revolve around grounding in a few core things, right? My health is a big personal goal, right? So being a little bit more disciplined about sort of my healthcare activities, working out, exercise. Uh, Secondly, around family, right? I have young, not so much younger anymore, so almost college age kids, right?
Okay.
And so really helping continue to mentor them in their goal, right? So these next 2 years or so are going to be focused in and around that phase of my life, and then looking forward to sort of me and my wife being empty nesters, right? Which is going to happen here in the near future as well. So sort of transitioning into sort of this next evolution of our personal life.
Okay. Great. And how do you overcome a challenge when life rears its head?
I mean, I tend to be a glass half full person, right? To quote a very cliched analogy, right? So
Uh
I
huh.
don't generally look at challenges, right? I look at challenges as possible. What are the opportunities? It's just naturally how I'm wired, and I tend to embrace the challenge as part of a natural part of growing up, as part of a course, right? You have to overcome these things. Um, so so I think the only mantra I keep saying is you've got to pay your time, you got to pay your dues, you got to focus, do your work, um, and overcome the challenge. And you also need to know, especially in challenges, you need to know when to walk away, right?
That's a
Sometimes,
biggie. Yeah.
right? So sometimes walking away is a very viable solution to overcome a challenge. And we oftentimes forget that. We just try to overcome a challenge. And for me, I think one of the big lessons learned is, when do I just think it's too much? When do I walk away? And sometimes we have to do that in business and
Folding
personal.
can be winning.
Yeah.
Folding can be winning. All right. If you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about?
Um, I call it the balance scorecard for personal living, right? I know in professional worlds, we often use the concept of balance scorecard to manage a business, but I think there's a similar concept that could be applied to balancing your personal life, right? And oftentimes, when I talk to people I mentor or guide, um, they seem to be struggling in sort of having a game plan around their personal life, right? How do I balance my family? How do I balance myself? How do I balance, my friends and social circle? How do I balance sort of my commitment to spirituality or work or, so these different kind of what I would call, um, different quadrants or buckets for your personal life. It would be good, right? Your game plan at age 18 may be different than your game plan for the same at age 60, right?
Very true.
That would be the book.
Okay. And this gives you the opportunity to tell me what question you'd like me to ask you, and then you can answer it. What do you wish I would have asked you?
um, I mean, this is a little bit of a struggle, but um, I guess it would come down to businesses, right? I think oftentimes when people look at sort of outsourced or partnership related services, um, they tend to take on the world by themselves, right? So I guess the question is, how can your customers take advantage of you, right, of your business and your service? I think the answer I would say is we offer a broad portfolio of capabilities and services. Some, while we may be working together in a narrow spectrum of a relationship, we have a broad capability in the e-commerce space, in the HR space, in the marketing space, and a lot of areas that customers often are deficient in. So that's an area that we can help with. So I guess the question is, um, we are your strategic partners. Feel free to have candid conversations. Pull us in. We are available, and if there's a way we can help you, or if we're not doing something today, but there's a way for us to get it done, we'll figure it out, and we'll support you.
Okay. And how do you promote your your uh, your brand here in America? Your personal and company brand, let's just say.
Sure. My personal brand, I think you are your personal brand ambassador, and every interaction you have, be it a social, be it an online one, or be it a professional one, or in person or on social media, they all are important, right? And so managing that brand is very important to me. On my personal brand, I tend to avoid sort of complicated topics like politics, etc., right? Because I don't want components like that to be part of my personal brand. And same professionally speaking, right? Taking advantage of all the avenues, right? Participating in forums like this where you get an opportunity to share your company story and benefits. These are pieces that I like to do. And additionally, we go to a lot of customer events. We go to trade shows. And some of those aspects also factor in terms of promoting our corporate brand.
I mean, do you use any kind of media yourself? Have you accessed, have you publicized your services? I'm just trying to figure out how to support
Yeah,
you.
we are on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, right? Especially, we have a young workforce globally, right? So we have some really bright, innovative minds who are in the Philippines predominantly, who are our digital marketers. So you will see blog entries, you'll see constant stream in our social media. So really, LinkedIn is probably the best avenue, but we're also actively on Twitter and other forums.
Okay, so how can I support you?
How can you support us? First, thank you for having me here, right? I think that's a big way in which you're supporting us. Share our story, right? We are different from many other offshore providers in the sense that we are very close strategic partners. Most of our customers will endorse that very strongly. And in terms of small to medium businesses, if you're an e-commerce seller, right, and you are struggling to get everything done, come talk to us.
Okay. And what would you say about your experience on the show today?
I think the experience has been wonderful. Mitch, thank you for your extreme professional technology platform. Sort of your insights into your platform as well have been very good. I will tell everybody that the questions were not prepared. So if you see me stumbling across, but otherwise, I really enjoyed this guest experience, and it's very pleasurable talking to you.
Okay. And what's your final word? It
My
can be
final
words.
word.
It can be 2 words, 3 words, whatever it is. What's your
Um, I think I think a couple of things I've said early on, right? Be passionate, learn constantly. I think these are sort of my two mantras for how I live. I like to simplify it: pursue knowledge and excellence. I think everything else will come your way.
Okay, great. You've been a great guest today, and I look forward to seeing your success and the growth of Intelligentsia. And we will see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mitch.